Hello everybody, welcome to Snyder's Inc. and today we got a video from a channel called Coffee House Crime. We haven't done one of the videos in a while. We're going to do it now because this one caught my attention when I was on my timeline. This is the quotations cop killer that sparked a nationwide manhunt. We will get right into this. This is going to be a long one. It's 41 minutes long and I'm going to have some to say. Shit to say. I'm gonna have some stuff to say. That's a better way to put it. I know English, me. Ladies and gentlemen, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, comment, stick down below. Let's go.
Jealousy and resentment can be powerful things. But when tree surgeon and bouncer Raoul Moat learned that his ex-girlfriend was dating a police officer, he would quite literally jump off the deep end. His actions in the following days can only be described as frenzied. And after Raoul declared war on the police, it prompted one of the largest manhunts ever recorded in British history. And with a 6'3" muscular frame, some officers were literally too scared to go outside. His time at large would last for almost an entire week, leaving the British public.
That's already insane. Like, to think that a guy who's 6'3" muscular just needs to make threats against the police like, I ain't leaving. I ain't going anywhere outside. I don't trust it. Like, that's insane. The fact you scare police from even doing anything is insane.
Glued to their screens, while he roamed the lands of Rothbury with a shotgun in hand. But who was Raoul Moat? What had caused him to lash out so violently? Was he really the monster that the media claimed him to be? Who were his victims, and how would this manhunt end?
To want me to kill myself, but I'm going to give you a chance, because I am hunting for officers now.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, folks. My name is Adrian, and today we're looking at one of the largest manhunts ever conducted in the UK. I remember this case happening when I was just a teenager. Raoul's face was all over the news, and you couldn't go anywhere without hearing his name. And despite him being hundreds of miles away from my home at the time, families in my neighbourhood were too scared to let their kids outside. And there was a distinct feeling of panic in the air. By the way, and just to let you know, that I post true crime and strange cases here weekly, so if that does sound like your kind of thing, please consider subscribing to the channel. It really...
Let me know if you want me to do more of this guy's stuff. I usually don't do like him in that chapter that much, in all honesty. I probably should. But let me know if you want me to do more of Coffee House Crimes videos, because he gets some good ones. I just haven't reacted to them. But if you want me to, I will. Because that's how this works, you see. You tell me videos and I react to them. It's a very simple dynamic here. I'm just going to click play now because I'm just rambling now.
It really does help me out. And now, with that said, please grab yourself a coffee, pull up a seat, and get ready for the deep dive.
I ain't gonna grab a coffee. I don't drink coffee. I have a Pepsi over there, the other table right over there, but I'm not doing it. I'm pretty sure it's empty. And I ain't walking. Actually, I'll probably end up walking and go and grab another one at some point during the video. Because, you know, it's over an hour long it's gonna be, because I'm just gonna start talking.
This is the case of Raoul Moat.
Raoul Moat. Wow.
Our case today pulls us to the northern lands of England, to a ceremonial county named Tyne Wear. Originally created in 1974, the county consists of Gateshead, Sunderland, North and South Tyneside, and its main city, Newcastle upon Tyne. And if you're wondering about where Wear is in Tyne Wear, good question. The county is actually named after its rivers, the River Tyne and the River Wear. Despite living in the country, this part of England...
The only place I knew of all the places he named was Newcastle, but that's a pretty obvious known one. Every other one I didn't know. UK is a place I would love to visit at some time in my life. I do want to visit the UK at some point. But you got money for that.
And is actually so far up north that I've never had the chance to visit. But one thing that I hear time and time again is that this place is a beautiful part of the English heritage. The area is famous for its importance to the Victorian Industrial Revolution. Both coal mining and shipbuilding were synonymous with the region, and although those two things aren't exactly objects of beauty themselves, they did bring in a lot of workers to enjoy and experience the lands. As with many towns and cities in the north, The end of the Industrial Revolution was devastating to the local economy. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. The wealth divide between northern and southern England is actually quite shocking, with the UK Office for National Statistics even reporting an 18.6-year difference in life expectancy, which to me is absolutely mind-blowing. Now, thankfully, there seems to be somewhat of a technology revolution happening here, with many companies like Sage and Atom Bank moving in to employ thousands. But whether the North can claim the title of Technology Hub remains to be seen, and in the meantime, that wealth divide that I was talking about is sadly worsening. You will find many things to do in Newcastle, with popular destinations such as Quayside, the Angel of the North and Jesmond Dean. Head south of the river and you'll find the famous Bowes Railway, and head even further south and you'll find a small town named Birtley. It's here that we find a very important person to our case today, and her name is Samantha Stobbart. The year is 2010, and 22-year-old Samantha was living in the area with her partner Raoul Moat, and their 4-year-old daughter. At the time, Samantha was a trainee hairdresser. Still very young herself, she and Raoul were set up by friends when she was just a teenager. And while he was originally kind and caring, that would all sadly change by the time they had their child. Raoul was born on June the 17th, 19...
He looks like a bad partner. Like, let's be honest. There's just some that do. Some of you look at it when they tell you, hey, they're abusive or they're controlling. Now you're like, yeah, I believe it. He's one. He's one of them. You believe it. You look at him and you go, yep, I can 100% believe that he gonna abuse someone. He gonna be a bad partner. I'm not saying that's a good thing. That's a bad thing. That's a stupid. That makes it why his ass went in jail. Remember, it says in the description, I'm pretty sure he said it in the thing, he got out of jail and went gunning for police officers. This man went to jail for a reason. He went to jail, he abused a bad partner. He's a piece of shit.
73, to his mother Josephine and father Peter. Now, unfortunately, his hardship in life began before he even physically entered the world. He never knew his father, who left the family before he was born. His mother reportedly struggled with severe bipolar disorder, which unfortunately was disruptive enough to separate her from her 2 sons, Raoul and Angus. And the 2 brothers would spend most of their childhood growing up with their grandmother, while Josephine was in and out of hospital. Growing up together in Newcastle's West End, Angus and his brother were almost inseparable. And
sorry, I just heard a mighty scream. I don't think you got it picked up on here, but it was a mighty scream that came outside. I had to hear what it was. Nothing interesting.
Despite their dysfunctional family setup, Raoul was described as an outgoing, fun-loving kid with many friends. However, as the brothers reached their early 20s, they began to grow apart. Raoul became obsessed with weight training, and started spending most of his time with other bodybuilders. This was in stark contrast to Angus, who was more on the academically gifted side of life and would eventually go to university. Now, Raoul Moat...
So that's probably why he's jacked as he was, Mr. Raoul, because he's just all up in bodybuilding. That's all he cared about, was bodybuilding. And reacted and doing that. So because he only cared about bodybuilding and doing it, he didn't that's all he wanted to do, so he just got jacked. Probably even took some stuff to make him more jacked, if you know what I mean.
His mother did not like the change she saw in Raoul. She later claimed that her gentle son disappeared around the age of 19, replaced by a snarling man who hated everything and everyone. Towering at a height of 6'3" and weighing in at almost 270 pounds, Raoul was not someone to pick a fight with. And now that he was weight training, there was some severe physical strength behind this man. Unfortunately, this would also send Raoul down the path of steroids.
Knew it! I knew it! I said it looked like God probably takes steroids. I didn't say the word. You knew what I meant. I was right. There's just some people you can tell, right? There's just some people you can tell take them.
Friends claim they saw a huge change in his personality over this time frame, and he also began to develop an explosive temper. His obsession...
The one thing... This photo just changed completely my opinion on him. As I was saying, his opinion and need... Yeah, steroids changes people. I know many people that take steroids on a consistent basis to get super jacked that actually end up not becoming assholes in some way.
With bodybuilding helped him change jobs too. Replacing his job as a panel beater, Raoul became a bouncer at local gigs and nightclubs. including Liquid nightclub in Newcastle's big market. This job was problematic for him, however. According to both him and his colleagues, he was reportedly harassed by police officers on a weekly basis. At the end of the day, he was just a simple doorman, and it's likely that he felt that he and his job were very inferior in front of the police. It also seems that this got the better of him, because in the year 2004, he quit his job and changed career path, beginning his own business as a tree surgeon, cutely named Mr. Trimmett. However, despite this change in scenery, he would still regularly have run-ins with the police. By the time he was 36, Raoul was arrested 12 times on 7 separate charges. However, despite this alarming number, he was only convicted once. He was also charged in the year 2005 when officers found a knuckle duster and a samurai sword in his car. However, he would later be found not guilty. During his childhood...
How? Not guilty of what exactly? What was he not guilty of? The samurai sword was in his car. What do you think? It wasn't in this car? What do you think? It was sitting outside his car, so technically it wasn't his? What exactly did you... How do you change... What exactly... The sword was in his car. What exactly is he not guilty of? I mean, if you accused him of killing someone with a sword, then maybe he's not guilty of that. But the sword itself, because he's probably not allowed to own a sword, samurai sword in your car. In England, I'm gonna assume that should be a thing anywhere. You're just not allowed to just be carrying a samurai sword. But you know, I guess he's not guilty of it somehow.
He was also arrested for arson and animal cruelty, and allegedly for robbery too. However, we don't know what the other arrests were made for. Now this is a very important part to the story, but Raoul grew a very deep-seated hatred for the police. He felt like they targeted him for no reason at all, and eventually he would grow paranoid about this. Anyway, to put it short, by the year...
I mean, in fairness, if I got arrested I think it was 36 times by police, and only charged once because I only committed one of the crimes, yeah, I'd have a hatred for police, and I believe police are after me too. That's fair to say.
In 2010, Raoul was a jacked-up tree surgeon who had 3 kids, enjoyed motorbikes, loved to catch frogs, and loved himself. Between the years 2001 and 2010, Raoul found himself in several relationships, with most of them ending in dysfunctional violence. And after developing an embarrassingly cocky ego, most women couldn't stand being around him. However, this wouldn't stop Raoul from becoming a father to 3 separate children, including one of them with Samantha Stobbart. Throughout his relationship with Samantha, Raoul's ugly side became increasingly obvious to her, her friends, and even their daughter as time went on. The man was possessive, unkind, outright nasty, and at times even violent. Partially due to the steroids he was taking, Raoul's outbursts...
My man, once you start being abusive and abusive to your partner, that's one thing. Abusive to your own daughter is another. No, you should never be abusive. Well, you shouldn't be abusive to anyone, but especially your kids. Never should be abusive to your kids. You shouldn't be abusive to your other partner either, but I've seen that so many times, maybe my brain doesn't realize how dangerous of a thing that is, because it seems like freaking hell, the things I've seen, it seems like women look for a relationship with someone who might do that to them. It's really weird. But, yeah, never ever be abusive to your kids, ever.
would see him becoming enraged over the most trivial of things. And only after their house and all feeling of safety and comfort were left in tatters would he eventually apologize to his distressed girlfriend. Raoul became a narcissistic bully to Samantha. She was too scared to leave him, as he would often threaten her. The man was almost double her weight. And let's not forget that he was almost twice her age too. Now, we've already established that Raoul was not a kind person. But that doesn't mean that from time to time he did actually try to correct himself. He often talked about wanting a professional psychologist to help him with his issues and to bring the family back together. In addition to this, he also installed several surveillance cameras in his property to help defend him against the police.
I would like to have a psychologist have a word with me regularly on a regular basis to see if there's somewhere underlying, like where, a problem that I haven't seen. It's easy for me to say I don't do anything wrong, but I would like a professional, not a DIY thing, a professional thing, for someone to come along and say, look, there's area for improvement here. This is a problem. Why don't we just have this kind of sit me down and say, right, okay, I want to see you regularly. Then we can move towards where your areas of fault are. We can enhance on these areas, you know, and work with us. This is one of the things I'm suggesting, you know, and to me that would be the most, you know, spend some money on trying to get this family back together instead of splitting it up, you know. If I'm fault myself in any way, I'm open to all kinds of suggestions, but I refuse to spend the rest of my time fighting with social services. There's cameras everywhere. To be honest with you, it was to do with use. I was getting accused of a lot of things, and I ended up with about 8 cameras on the property, hidden in hedges and everything, to make sure I could pinpoint where I was at any particular time. I wasn't there for any other reason other than that.
It is, so he wanted to have a psychologist look at it and see what the air, like, to fix himself, but also I bet he wasn't fully willing to look for it himself. Because I don't know how it was in 2010, but I still feel like you probably could have found one if you really looked for one.
One disgusting side note.
Also, the part where he, I guess, again, there's another thing. If I was arrested 36 times by police, I'd be putting cameras around my place either, because you can't trust them. That would be an area of non-trust. You wouldn't be able to trust police after that. In my own head, so I'd understand that.
Worth mentioning here. But remember when I said that she had met Raoul as a teenager? Well, it turns out that he'd been pursuing a relationship with her when she was just 15 years old, meaning that at the same time he was 30. The difference in age was a way for Raoul to keep control over Samantha. He was taught.
This man is one disturbed human being. There is so much wrong with this guy. From the beginning to the end, this man, from 19 years old, this man was an asshole and a prick, and he just hadn't changed. He didn't change at all. Our whole time, he never changed once.
Taller, bigger, older, and supposedly wiser. And all of those things dictated a strong sense of authority over her. And now that she had had a child with him and was financially dependent, it was even harder for her to get away. That would be until Raoul made one big mistake. In the early months of 2010, his terrible and violent behavior got the better of him when he struck one of his older kids in the face. The man was arrested and charged with assaulting a child. And that...
So his anger side, he took out hit one of his kids in the face, his older kids in the face, and got charged for it, which gave her the opportunity to get away from him. Okay, there's appreciation there. At least he got caught and she was able to get away from him. But I don't think he probably took that very well.
Action that would end in him losing everything. Samantha now technically had a legal way out of his life, should she and her child want to take it. In addition to this, Raoul now faced possible prison time, with his reputation now left in shreds. And on February the 25th, 2010, Raoul Moat was officially sentenced to 18 weeks in prison for his behaviour, serving his time in Her Majesty's Prison, Durham. While behind bars, and stripped of the ability to control everything in his life, Raoul's desperation and anger grew to newfound heights. Boredom, isolation, and a bruised ego created open space for nefarious rumination, and Samantha was heavily on his mind. But outside in the real world, he wasn't on hers. As the weeks passed by, Samantha found herself falling in love with a charming man who had recently moved to the area. The man's name was Chris Brown. And no, by the way, I don't mean that Chris Brown. 29 years old at the time, he was 7 years older than Samantha. After a difficult year down south in Windsor, found near London, he decided to make the move up north for a brand new life, settling in Gateshead, which is found near Berkeley. With his main profession as a karate instructor, Chris was making his way around the neighbourhoods of Berkeley, knocking on doors to drum up some interest in his classes. And fatefully, one of those he would unexpectedly meet was Samantha. The two hit it off immediately. Chris was funny, charming, far smarter than Raoul, and even made Samantha laugh. And additionally, despite it being an issue for some, Chris didn't seem to mind that she was already a parent. As things became more serious between them, Samantha was left with the very terrible situation of breaking the news to Raoul. Because although she'd moved on months before, he still desperately wanted to control her. While still behind bars, Raoul became aware of Samantha's new relationship. And as you can likely guess, this didn't sit well with him. Promising that...
No, he didn't. Of course it didn't. Because if it did, he would be, Because that means his control's gone. Way gone. Like, he never stood a chance. Once his goal, then that means his control's gone. Now control's gone means desperation now exists, which means anger exists, which means violence exists. That's just the way Raul's brain works.
He would find revenge. Samantha tried to intimidate Raul by telling him that Chris was a karate instructor and a police officer. And that last part was a lie. I mean, she probably should have known better, because due to his negative obsession with the police, this would only push Raul even harder. The news devastated Raul. Instead of reflecting on his losses and realizing that they were the consequences of his own actions, he doubled down on his hatred. And being unable to feel compassion for the feelings of others, he continued.
Wait a minute, it just didn't even cross my mind. So she lied and said her new man was a police officer to intimidate him, but knowing that he hates police officers, that just pissed him off even more and made him more reason why he wants to get revenge on this dude. God damn. What a dumb bitch move that was. So this whole attack he had on police was just out of anger for a lie. Oh my god.
To focus on his own entirely. It is at this moment that worrying clues began to appear. Prison guards were warned by rumours that were circulating around the prison. Apparently, Raul had told his cellmate that he was planning on seriously injuring Samantha and her new partner, and these allegations were further backed up by one of the prison cleaners. But despite the obvious warning signs, his case was never properly addressed by prison staff or the Force Intelligence Bureau, and on July the 1st, 2010,
Of course, because they don't want to deal with it. They don't want to deal with it. They're going to let it be. They're going to let him do their thing. And as long as he's not their problem, they don't care. Especially for prison people. Prison staff and that.
10, after completing his 18-week sentence, Raul Moat was finally released from prison. Back in the real world and finally re-equipped with his mobile phone, Raul immediately began to terrorize Samantha. Dozens of calls were made to her phone. Too scared to answer, they all went through to voicemail. With no luck on the phone, Raul took to his own Facebook page to post the following. Just got out of jail. I've lost everything. My business, my property, and to top it all off, my lass of 6 years has gone off with the copper that sent me down. I'm not 21 and I can't rebuild my life. Watch and see what happens. And just 2 days later, the current chain of events that unfolded would sink to a whole new level. July the 3rd, 2010. The time was 2:30 in the morning, and Chris and Samantha had spent the last couple of hours talking and having drinks with her mother and one of their friends. With summer keeping the night warm, the group had left the living room window open to keep themselves cool. However, the four of them were not alone. Unbeknownst to any of them at the time, but Raul had tracked Samantha and Chris down. Finding a space underneath the window, he sat down in the garden, and with the window wide open, he listened in on their conversation. Those inside openly talked about Raul, completely unaware that he was outside listening in.
Oh man, that's just weird. There's so much weird. So they're talking about him very openly while he's hiding in the garden watching the front window unbeknownst to them.
At 2:40 AM, Chris and Sam called it a night. With her mother at home and her daughter upstairs, Samantha decided to join Chris at his place. However, as soon as they opened the front door, the pair were met with a frighteningly confrontational scene. In front of them was Raul, and in his hand was a sawn-off shotgun. Raul shot Chris twice from point-blank range, both of these shots injuring him and then knocking him to the ground. After reloading, he then took a third shot, sadly killing him instantly. Samantha ran inside for cover, but after looking out the front window, she too was shot in the chest. And with Sam then hitting the ground, Raul calmly walked away. The county of Tyne and Weir became dangerous in an instant, with Raul disappearing into the night. And with the police made aware of his crimes, he was now officially a wanted man. Now, incredibly, Samantha was not killed by the attack. However, she was in critical condition. She was rushed to hospital to undergo life-saving surgery, and then put under armed guard. By sunrise, the UK had awoken to the news.
Okay, so yeah, so Chris, this innocent dude who fell in love with a woman, got shot and killed by a psychopathic ex. the woman herself, in fairness, lied about who the guy was, sort of, gets shot. She didn't deserve to get shot, I'm just saying that, but she fueled his anger towards him by lying to him. The anger was there, so she gets shot, she's in critical condition, she's getting surgery and is also being guarded by people to make sure he doesn't come, trying to get revenge again. And then, so now they're also trying to, and now Raoul's a wanted guy, hunted by pretty much all of UK.
That Raoul Moat was armed and dangerous and at large, and that everyone should remain vigilant. Despite a myriad of sightings coming in, police actually had no idea where he was, and unknown to them at the time, he'd already changed his clothing and his vehicle. And it was at this time that this phone call was made to the police.
Hello there, this is the gunman from Berkeley last night. My name is Raoul Moat. What I'm phoning about is to tell you exactly why I've done what I've done, right? Now, my girlfriend has been having an affair behind my back, but one of your officers, this gentleman that I shot last night, the karate instructor, right? Been on to me, right, for years. He's hassled us, harassed us, he just won't leave us alone. I went straight 6 years ago when I met her, and I've tried my best to have a normal life, and you just won't let up. Right? You won't leave us alone for 5 minutes. I can't drive down the street without the blue cracking lights. You know? You have stitched this up for years. You've been caught stitching this up. So the fact of the matter is, right, that she's having an affair with one of your officers. Once you got a police officer, I wouldn't have shot him.
Okay.
Simple as that, right? But the thing is, you know, it's been going on for a while. I went to jail, right?
Okay.
I got stitched up by you for
This girl, the person who answered this phone has no idea what to do. This man, they're just letting him talk because they have no idea what to say of him. They have no idea what is going on with him.
You kids, which I didn't do, right?
Right.
I went to jail for something I didn't do. Now, I could have took a community order, right?
Yeah.
But what happened is me and Sam had a discussion with the barrister. I went to jail. Within 3 to 4 weeks, the barrister promised us and let us down. She said she would have us on a retrial, get the not guilty, so me and my son would live together. I went to jail, right?
Hang on a minute, because you're losing me there, yeah.
Right?
Well,
I went to jail longer than I should have done for something I didn't do, right? But justify that in your own head, right? And meanwhile, while I'm doing that for my missus, she's having an affair with one of your officers, right? And then when I come out, right, she's winding us up, saying that he's going to stitch us up using him, right? And, you know, that he's this, he's that, he's going to, because he's a multiple backbend, he's going to kick the ass all over the place.
Okay,
you know right? And I've had nothing but grief from her.
This is a scenario, I don't know what I do about this. She's just he's ranting. He's ranting and she's just having to listen. This, I don't know what this operator has to listen to this. I'm not gonna say 911 because I don't think it's 911 in the UK, but I don't remember what it is. Someone might be able to answer that for me, but I don't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, this is a very interesting situation where she has to listen to this crazy man rant and ramble.
A good relationship with her for 6 years, which is why we've stayed together. I've gone straight, I've got a total legitimate life with her, I've opened a business, and I've been shocked in. And you police have took too much off me over the years. You won't take a look. Now you think you can take your missus. Now I didn't mean to shoot her like that, right? That wasn't
okay.
Right? They deserved it, right? But she, right, you can see from the ballistics I've been altering those cartridges, right? That one was only half the powder. It was only meant to get a compensation, because obviously I'm not going to be around in a few days, right? It was meant to just give her a little injury so she could get loads of compensation and be set to bed.
Oh no, he should start off. His thought was like, I tried to shoot her a little bit, give her a little injury so she got some compensation. Because he's not around. What? What's wrong with you? Yo, man, you're crazy. This is an actual crazy man. This man, not in his right mind, I don't think has ever been.
Now that found out just critical, I'm not happy about it. I didn't mean that. You know what I mean? I'm quite surprised he is critical. You know? But I didn't mean that. But the fact of the matter is, I'm not coming in alive. Yous have hassled me for so many years. They come anywhere near me and I'll kill you. I've got 2 hostages at the minute, right? Come anywhere near me and I'll kill them as well. I'm coming to get you. I'm not on the run. I am coming to get you. You have made me unwell. You have made me do this because you just won't leave me out of, you know, you don't want to leave us alone.
Can you confirm you've got 2 hostages?
I've confirmed I've got 2 hostages, yes.
Right. And where are you?
I'm not going to tell you where I am.
Okay, fair enough, yeah.
Don't worry.
I love that response. He's like, and where are you? I'm not gonna tell you where I am. I'm not gonna tell you where I am. Okay, fair enough. I don't know why that made me laugh, but something. Okay, fair enough. I wouldn't tell you where I am either. Tell me where I am either. That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, fair enough.
Right?
Yeah. Can I just confirm who you are? Can you give me your date of birth, please?
Yes, it's the 17th of June 1973.
Right, okay then. Thank you very much.
Right? I am very sorry for what's happened with Sam. That's not what I meant.
Right.
You know? But I'll tell you something else. This other idiot in the paper that's saying I pointed the gun, you know, he's had to, like, you know, he starts having to control him and all the rest of it.
Yeah, yeah.
He was accused, right? I heard rumours in jail that he was sleeping with my son. Now,
Okay, right.
I saw the Tom started yesterday, and he said he heard the same rumours as well, but he didn't believe it was true, but he was definitely trying to get into it. So listen to me, but I'll tell you, he was the first one to run and hide upstairs, leaving his wife and leaving everybody else. You know what I mean? He didn't stand there and let a gun point at me, because had I pointed him, I would have shot him. If I do believe he was getting into it, there'd be a lot of nonsense going on behind my back while I've been in jail. She's changed. She's not off changed. And every time I've spoken to her and tried to be reasonable, she wouldn't let us anywhere near the bed.
Right,
She wouldn't go to the house, she wouldn't discuss anything, and she was threatening us for one of your officers.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Now, I've had enough. I've had enough. I've jailed here this unwell. I've came up with different kids. You know.
This dude is completely. I came out a different kid. A different kid. My man, you're what? 30, 40 years old? You ain't no kid. Even if you went to jail in 20s, you ain't a kid. You're a grown ass man. You know better. Don't you call yourself a kid? My man, you're damn old. 73, you're 37 years old? Like, get a grip, would you?
What I mean, I've lost everything through you, right? It's just won't leave us alone, right? So at the end of the day, you killed me and him before that trigger was ever pulled.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Okay, we are trying to help you, yeah.
You're not trying to help us. You wanted me to do myself in, and I was going to do it until I found out about him properly and what was going on. And as soon as I found out myself, I thought, nah, you've had too much from me. You've had too much from me. You'll get your chance to kill us, right? You'll get your chance to kill us.
No,
Okay?
we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that.
You do want me to kill myself, but I'm going to give you a chance, because I am hunting for officers now.
Raoul's
Fi's insane. He says, I'm gonna give you want me to kill myself. I'm gonna give you the chance to kill me. I'm gonna give you the chance to kill me because I'm hunted for officers. Like, to put that there is this ends with you killing me. That's what this ends with. At least that's what he wants it to end with. Like, that's insane.
phone call was cold, calculated and deliberate. And in those 5 minutes, he had officially declared war against the police. Sadly, his paranoia had got the better of him, and Raoul believed that all officers were out for his blood. He felt betrayed by the system, betrayed by his attorney, and even betrayed by his ex-girlfriend. He also believed that she was now dating a police officer, and with nothing to lose, Raoul didn't plan to go out without a fight. One of the officers out on patrol that night was a 42-year-old man named David Rathband. And just after midnight, he parked his police car on the roundabout connecting the A1 to the A69. He was entirely unaware that, as he sat there, Raoul had just declared war on the police, making him a target. He was also unaware that Raoul was only minutes behind him. Since the suspect had changed cars earlier that day, all officers were looking for the wrong type of vehicle. So when Raoul drove by in a black Lexus, David was none the wiser. Noticing the cop car, Raoul parked nearby, pulled out his sawn-off shotgun, and then walked towards it. And after walking next to the window and making eye contact with David, the man then pulled the trigger, blasting the police officer in the face.
Wow. I should have known. Should know my film will call me. He always does it when I'm filming. Always. No matter what he does, he always calls me when I'm filming. To think he just walked up to an officer who's unaware of the target that he became just by being an officer. I think that Raoul just walked up and just shot him. Looked him dead in the eyes, then shot him. Ruthless, heartless as it gets. Insane.
Despite being severely wounded, David would also not die from his injuries. And after playing dead and allowing Raoul to flee, he then called his colleagues to warn them. Sadly, David became blind in both eyes after the attack. He recalls looking into Raoul's eyes, seeing no emotion at all, and then suddenly feeling an intense pain all over his face. Raoul downing an officer changed almost everything about this case. It went from a typical homicide motivated by jealousy to an active shooter targeting officers. The police knew that this was very serious business, and every officer on the street was now a walking target. Therefore, they would have to be very careful with Raoul. However, before they had any time to react, yet another phone call came in to the police.
I've just told your officer that the roundabout in the west end of Newcastle.
Yes.
Well, absolutely not going to stop. You're going to have to kill me.
Right.
They're not going to stop.
And so began the escalation.
This is an insane thought process you have to have. To be sitting there hunting police and just going, this goes until I'm killed by you guys. Until you officers kill me, I'm not gonna stop. Like, that is an insane mindset to have. It's a dangerous mindset to have, and it's a scary mindset to be if you're an officer in the UK. Because you never know what car he's gonna drive. He switches cars, you never know what he's gonna drive and what he's gonna show up with, and he could just kill you at any moment. He'll walk up and do it without any thought.
Manhunt, which to this day is still one of the largest recorded in the UK. A total of 160 specially trained armed officers were deployed to find Raoul, which represented approximately 10% of those nationally available at any one time. In addition to Northumbria's police force of 100 officers, they also leaned on 40 additional armed officers from London and 20 from the north. As Raoul's spree entered the second day, officers received intelligence to suggest that he may have been holding 2 hostages. This intelligence would also lead officers to believe that he had made his way to a rural town named Rothbury, which was located around 30 miles or 50 kilometers northwest of the roundabout. Now, Rothbury isn't that large of a town, but it does have many places to hide. And although there were indications that he had made his way here, police officers wouldn't receive any more clues for a while. Helicopters hovered above in relentless pursuit of the wanted man. And down below, the streets of Birtley, Newcastle, Rothbury and further afield were littered with police officers. The residents of Tyne and Weir had never seen anything like this. Police activity had rocketed to unprecedented levels. Multiple raids were made on properties across the area, though all of these efforts were unsuccessful in capturing Raoul or his supposed hostage.
Raoul knows what he's doing, despite being a dangerous, crazy guy who's just not in his right mind. He's just completely lost his fucking plot. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to handle himself. He knows where he's hiding somewhere where none of them can find him. They're looking in like 4 or 5 different areas and they just can't find him at all. You have no idea where he is. So he's good at hiding.
Northumberland police issued a statement to Raoul begging him to give himself up. They further explained that Chris Brown was not an officer, and that there seemed to be miscommunication between Samantha and himself.
You have our full attention.
Officers eventually found his black Lexus car, which was located on an estate to the east of Rothbury town centre. Despite this finding, Raoul remained undetected, and unknown to anyone at the time, he was actually up in the woodlands, laying low and living in a small tent. A 2-mile exclusion zone was set up in an effort to detain him. But little did they know that the man was already relaxing outside of the zone in his own tent. And as the day became long in the tooth, the authorities learned that there actually were no hostages. In fact, the 2 men with Raoul were actually his accomplices. Carl Ness and Karam Owan were already involved with Raoul days before he had even pulled the trigger on Chris and Sam. While Raoul was in prison, Carl had...
So wait, they have 2... I didn't know he had henchmen. I didn't know Raoul even had henchmen. Why does he have henchmen? He's a hunt... I guess these other 2 just want to hunt police? I guess? That's a little, like... I didn't expect Raoul to have henchmen. I didn't have his guys with him.
Actually spied on Samantha, sourced him the gun, and even stalked Chris Brown online. After killing Chris, Karam helped Raoul and Carl evade officers by driving them around Tyne and Weir. The 2 men also waited for Raoul while he shot David in his car, and after this, all 3 men fled to Rothbury before setting up camp. Karam then sent a letter to his sister confessing his crimes, and despite telling her to burn the letter, she instead handed it over to the authorities. I wonder why. In the letter, Karam said, "It is my friend that is holding me hostage. I am actually safer than safe. But this deed will see me a made man. I'm actually hiding out at a secret location well out of harm's way. Burn this letter after you have read it. Not sure about showing this to mum and dad though, as they will spill the beans and that will lead to me actually being shot. Love you." With Carl and Karam now considered accomplices instead of hostages, officers could now be less tentative with Raoul's capture, and on July the 7th, his 2 henchmen were found along one of Rothbury's rural roads. A helicopter actually captured the entire thing on video. Undercover officers approached the men in unmarked vehicles, and within 5 seconds they had stunned, immobilized and successfully captured both men.
That quick. That's all it takes. 5 seconds. Few seconds, all it takes for them 2 officers, for those 2 men, be tasered, put down, handcuffed, arrested. 5 seconds. All it took.
Being honest, that was actually quite impressive. Officers would eventually find Raoul's campsite.
That is hell of impressive.
Which included a tent, a duvet, a mobile phone, and an 8-page letter to Samantha. But what really concerned them was what was found on that mobile phone. It turns out that Raoul had been watching the news ever since being on the run, and had been growing more and more agitated by the so-called lies they'd been portraying on him. In a haunting voice recording made to the police, Raoul promised to kill an innocent civilian for every new lie that the media created. Now, of course, this terrified the police. They requested a media blackout, and moving forward on July the 8th, all news stations stopped reporting on the case. It is obvious that Raoul still wanted control of the situation, and this is why he made threats of punishment should the world not do as he desired. But time was running out for him. He had no friends, no car, no money, no mobile phone, and nowhere to go. But despite all of this, he was still at large 5 days after murdering Chris.
It's a mixture of luck for him and skills by him. The fact he's able to get away and he's still on the run 5 days after this, because you're on police, so you are full target of everyone here. So,
in addition to the 8-page letter left for Sam, officers would also find a 14-page letter named Murder Statement addressed to the police. In this letter, Raoul wrote, "I guess I finally lost it. I am not on the run. I will keep killing police until I am dead. They've hunted me for years. Now it's my turn. The police should fear me, as I won't stop until I am dead. They took it all from me. My kids, my freedom, my house, and then Sam. Where could I go from there? Obviously, I have issues, but I was pushed. I am a killer and a maniac, but I ain't no coward. I was terrified of losing Sam, as I knew I'd lost the plot. Now I've realised Sam is really hurt, and I'm gutted. I never meant that. Those doctors better save her life, or I'll hit that hospital. I still love her despite everything, but my head is a mess right now, and I know I'm far too gone to make much sense of it. I can't understand why she pushed me when she knew. I think she thought that part of me was gone, and in many respects I wish it had. There is always that other side that takes over when I get hurt, and only Sam can control it. I am very sorry about Sam. I wish I hadn't shot her. Just make sure she stays alive. I never cheated on her. I wish she had not on me. She pulled the trigger by doing so, just as much as me." Shortly after discovering...
this is a guy who's really trying to justify himself. Really trying to make the victim seem part of it. Saying she pulled the trigger just as much as I did. She's at fault of her being shot just as much as I am. Like, he really wants to take the blame off of himself.
In these letters, officers released a new public statement.
"We have established that Mr. Moat has been living rough in a tent in a secluded spot near to Rothbury. We've recovered the tent and other items from the scene. This includes another letter, purportedly from Mr. Moat. This is an 8-page handwritten document addressed to Samantha. In it, Mr. Moat reasserts his belief that Samantha's partner was a police officer. I repeat, this is not the case. Mr. Moat, I've said it before and I will say it again. We want to apprehend you safely. Please give yourself up. Given the urgency to locate and detain Mr. Moat, we have decided to offer a £10,000 reward for information which leads directly to Mr. Moat's detention.
But despite their best efforts to get back into contact with Raoul, he had quite literally disappeared. In the days surrounding...
That's the smartest move he could have made. He knew they were going to get to him, so he got out of there, got on the run, left his location, left that letter, made sure they saw it. He's not going until he's dead. He's made up that mindset, and he's lost the plot, as he put it. He can't come back, and he can't fix that part.
In this time frame, Raoul's silence created paranoia among the public. People were aware that he was armed, explosively emotional, and dangerous. And with no confirmed sighting in recent days, he could theoretically be anywhere. Theories and rumours began to spread like wildfire. A topography map of the area shows that Rothbury is situated between two hills, leaving it rather prone to flooding. Now, the council mitigated that scenario by introducing a network of storm drains. However, what they didn't account for was an armed and dangerous gunman who could use the drain network to get around easily and undetected. The townspeople began to speculate that Raoul may be living amongst them. Crops allegedly disappeared from gardens, bins appeared to be rummaged through, and one resident even claimed that their bed had apparently been slept in. Windows and doors were locked, children were pulled out of school to remain at home, and many residents stayed away from their windows. But on the evening of July the 9th, 2010, the manhunt would reach its final chapter. At 7:25 PM, a Rothbury resident called the police to report a sighting of Raoul Moat. The man was apparently standing next to the back.
It's 999. That's what it is. But that little visual is all I need. That's what it is for UK 911.
Bank of the River Cocart. The discovery sent the police and, unfortunately, the media into meltdown. Where the river surrounded him on one side, officers surrounded him on the other. A standoff ensued, taking Raoul, dozens of officers and negotiators into the night. Reporters and camera crews alike were eager to get as close as possible, filling in the nooks and crannies that officers didn't occupy. Back at home, millions of people watched on, witnessing Raoul's final stand from the comfort of their own sofa. However, at 1:34 AM, the stalemate suddenly turned into complete commotion. After trying to take his own life, Raoul was immediately rushed to the hospital. However, by 2:20 AM, he was pronounced dead. This wouldn't be the end of the authorities' problems, however. After a 6-hour standoff with the officers and eventually his death, it was learned that Raoul was actually shot with 2 experimental long-range electric tasers just before taking his own life. Now, this caused a lot of controversy in the early days, because nobody knew when exactly he'd been shot by these tasers. Obviously, being tasered will force most of your muscles to contract, and if Raoul had his finger on the trigger, well, it doesn't take a trained physician to know what would happen next. A senior IPCC investigator told the inquest that during the final confrontation, Raoul had in fact been shot by 2 officers from West Yorkshire Police with taser guns in an apparent attempt to prevent Raoul from killing himself. However, at the time, it was still not clear whether the tasers were fired before or after he turned the gun on himself. It was learned that the type of taser used was a long-range X-Rep which operates without wires. But these tasers were experimental at the time and were not actually certified to be used by the police.
Ooh. Ooh. Ooh, that's not a good one. So the thought could be that he put the gun himself, they shot him with the taser caught his body to Joe. He unknowingly, because his muscles started to think, he pulled the trigger and shot himself, but he didn't actually plan to shoot himself. It just happened to be that the taser caused it. That's what the theory is, because they use a gun that's not certified to be used, a taser gun that's not certified to be used, that he shouldn't have used in the first place.
Back in the days when Theresa May was Home Secretary and not another atrocious Prime Minister, she revoked the firm's license after confirming that these tasers were never officially approved for use. When it comes to the legal proceedings of this case, there isn't much I can say for Raoul Moat himself. Obviously, this is because the man is dead. But on the other hand, his two accomplices, Carl Ness and Karama Wan, would face the full force of the law. Carl Ness was tried for the murder of Christopher Brown, conspiracy to murder, and the attempted murder of PC David Rathband. And in the end, he was sentenced.
Why was he charged for the murder of Chris Brown? He wasn't there. Yes, he stalked them, but he didn't commit the murder. He wasn't even there. He wasn't even there. He wasn't even there for the murder of Chris Brown. He wasn't even there. Why was he there? He wasn't even there.
To 3 concurrent life sentences, totaling a minimum of 40 years behind bars. Karama Wan received 2 concurrent life sentences, one for conspiracy to murder and the other for the attempted murder of PC David Rathband. He will serve at least 20 years in jail. Right, so personally, I'm not too sure what to think about these charges. I mean, I've seen actual murderers get a mere 7 years behind bars. And so to see these 2 people who never actually pulled the trigger to get multiple life sentences, it does seem quite steep. But then again,
you are talking about officers who were the targets. That's why. Officers were the targets, so they took it personally. And this was done personally. By lawyers, by defense attorneys, by prosecutors, by judges, by officers themselves. This was personal. Defense attorneys, the only one that probably was on their side. Everyone else just wanted them to suffer. They would have them 2 were suffering for a row. That's what this was.
I'm just a barista, so what do I know, right? Both men were also sentenced to 7 years for robbery, with Carl given an additional 5 years for possession of a firearm. In the immediate aftermath of Raoul's death, discussion erupted amongst the public. Raoul Moat was the #1 trending topic on Twitter for multiple days, and dozens of Facebook groups were created. This even resulted in a Raoul Moat memorial page on Facebook, dedicated to remembering and sympathizing with the man. The page generated 36,000 members in the space of a few days. And although, yeah, not many people liked the police, I'm kind of lost for words with that one. Now, there is one other side note worth mentioning, which I don't think is worth talking about more than it needs to be. But during Raoul's standoff with the police, former England football player Paul Gascoigne actually turned up at the scene with a dressing gown, beer, bread, chicken, and a fishing rod. Paul would later admit that he'd snorted so much cocaine that night that he actually thought that Raoul was his brother. He also thought that he could...
Wait, what? Hold on, back up. I need to hear more of this.
Police, former England football player Paul Gascoigne actually turned up...
Oh, so some football player named Paul Gascoigne came out completely on cocaine, thinking that there's this Raoul guy who's having to stand on police was his what? That's so random. That is so random. I love it. Oh my god, that makes no sense and I love it.
Up at the scene with a dressing gown, beer, bread, chicken, and a fishing rod. Paul would later admit that he'd snorted so much cocaine that night that he actually thought that Raoul was his brother. He also thought that he could defuse the entire situation if he could just talk and catch fish with Raoul. So yeah, seriously, stay away from hard drugs, kids. Before we dive into Raoul's psychology, it is also worth mentioning that this was a small turning point for live coverage in the UK. The media were accused of glamorizing Raoul by often using descriptions such as having a hulking physique and being a notorious hard man. Simultaneously, they also provided barely any coverage about his victims, which seemed to piss a lot of people off. It was also learned that during their live coverage, Sky News had...
Hold on, I need to go back. There's more to this that I wasn't listening.
Could just talk and catch fish with Raoul. So yeah, seriously, stay away from hard drugs, kid.
Yeah.
Before we dive into Raoul's psychology, it is also worth mentioning that this was a small turning point for live coverage in the UK. The media were accused of glamorizing Raoul by often using descriptions such as having a hulking physique and being a notorious hard man. Simultaneously, they also provided barely any coverage about his victims, which seemed to piss...
Oh, so this is what... Okay, so the media got pissed off. The media because they weren't talking about the victims and putting really any description of the victims, not caring about the victims, but they talked about Raul and then gave him somewhat of an ego boost with, he's a hard man and he's got a hulking physique and he looks good, like praising him and talking him up, even though he's committing these crimes.
A lot of people off. It was also learned that during their live coverage, Sky News had even used police-issued body armor and semi-automatic rifles as studio props. AOL had even incorrectly published a satirical article which joked that schools across Britain were being closed so the entire family could watch the grisly finale live on TV. Now, there is a lot to be said about Raul and his state of mind both before and during his actions. From the early days, and still to this very day, friends and family of Raul claim that his desperation to create the perfect family life that he never had could be what led him to his violent rampage. They also claim that he came from a dysfunctional background with very little maternal affection.
That doesn't undo it. There was nothing that he could have gone through that justifies what he went through. Not what he went through, what he did. There was nothing he could have gone through. No family life turned someone into this type of rampaging serial killer. That is only the man himself does that.
And okay, true, this could partially explain some of his behaviour, but not quite the full suite. One of the UK's most popular channels, ITV, has recently created a 3-episode drama series based around Raul Note, but this was widely condemned by Samantha and most of the victims' families. I can kind of understand why too, because after watching some of it, it is obvious to see that they portrayed his personality as some sort of aggressive, brooding, strong figure who was not to be reckoned with. This is in stark contrast to the type of person that he actually was. I mean, sure, he was tall, there is no getting around that, but he was more of a troubled man who abused steroids, didn't know how to control his emotions, and clearly had daddy issues. I mean, one of the last things he said before he pulled the trigger is, "I wish I knew my dad, I never had one." Now, obviously, Raul's problems are much more complex than that, but like most of the people that I cover on this channel, and I say most, those terrifying characters are actually just vulnerable and very dysfunctional people. It's hard to give a synopsis on Raul.
He was a man who went through trouble, yes, but abused steroids to the point it changed him. Was so desperate to keep a chick that he controlled and desperate to have control that he literally shot a dude that he thought was a police officer, shot the woman he was trying to keep. Lucky enough, she survived. I believe so. Then brought and went towing out police. This man does not deserve to have any praise done to him. There's no justifying his batshit insanity.
Raul's mental health, especially when there doesn't seem to be much of a professional opinion online. Tabloids all seem to say the same thing. He was paranoid, suspicious, mistrustful of authority figures, victimized himself, and blamed others for his misfortune. But without any real psychological evaluation, which can't exactly happen with a dead patient, there isn't much else that can be concluded. Steroids were likely partially to blame for his extreme mood swings, though they don't justify or explain his actions. Raul was incredibly nasty, controlling and violent to those around him, and had even been sent to prison for assaulting his own child. There was one small glimmer of potential redemption at one point, however, when he expressed his desire for therapy months before the attack, indicating that he likely felt some level of guilt and regret for his long-term behaviour. One could argue that if he received professional help, then maybe the course of his actions may have ended up being different. Raul felt deliberately targeted by the police. He had even installed surveillance cameras around his property because he felt he needed an alibi at all times. But this was a mere opinion without any proof or evidence. And if anything, the police hadn't failed Raul, they had failed his victims. Raul had talked about injuring or even killing Samantha and Chris weeks before he was released from prison. And those he had confided in had even grasped him to the prison staff. Communication between Her Majesty's Prison Durham and the police were entirely inadequate, and neither Chris nor...
Yeah, so in fairness, they had the chance to stop this, but they did it because they didn't believe in probably the prisoners, and they didn't want to actually get involved. They just wanted to do whatever the heck They didn't want to get involved with it. They just let it be, like he was talking nonsense, which you never should do when they're threatening to hurt people. Never.
or Sam were aware of their impending doom. Now, unfortunately, despite me searching for longer than usual, not a great deal is known about Chris Brown. He had escaped his life back in Windsor to find a new lease of life up north. Working hard and earnestly, he delivered leaflets for business from door to door, only to fall in love with a woman who so desperately wanted to feel loved. Chris gave Samantha all that he had, and for the short time that they were together, she remembered what happiness felt like. It is a tragedy that he lost his life simply for being a better man than Raoul. Chris had no chance to fight back. Neither did Samantha. Despite being permanently blinded, David Rathband survived his injuries, and even after 17 days in hospital, more than 200 bullets remain lodged in his skull. He won national praise for coping with his new disability by setting up the Blue Light Foundation to help emergency workers injured at work. But sadly, his story is filled with more tragedy, with some of that his own wrongdoing as well. David waited for more than 12 months before receiving any sort of counselling, which surely would have had a massive impact on his mental health. His marriage with his wife unfortunately crumbled.
Oh, he has mad PTSD. My man has mad... David has mad PTSD. You have to. You have to have PTSD if you go 12 months without seeing any counsel or anything. Yeah, you went through some bad stuff. He should have gotten counseling right away.
After she learned that he had yet another affair, and after already enduring a few of those, she filed for divorce. The divorce left David feeling both hopeless and helpless. His ex-wife also claims that she then had to seek help when he became verbally abusive, and sadly, he would take his own life the very next day. Samantha has tried to keep out of the spotlight since her last interview, which was dated in 2012. She has covered her scars from the event with tattoos, including a cross dedicated to Chris Brown. It is not known what she is doing nowadays, but she is now in her 30s, and personally, I sincerely hope that she is doing well. I think I'm gonna wrap this one up here today, folks.
I agree with him here. I do hope she's doing well. I hope she's enjoying life, and life's doing good to her, because she went through some bullshit she should have never went through, and she suffered when she shouldn't have. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think of this insane story in the comments. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all for the next one.